It was a peaceful Sunday afternoon in Willow Creek, the kind of small town where neighbors knew each other's names and children played freely without fear. 8-year-old Emily Parker had been in her grandmother's backyard chasing butterflies and giggling as she ran between the tall sunflowers, while her parents lingered inside, finishing lunch and chatting over coffee. One moment she was in sight, the next she was gone. At first, her mother assumed Emily had wandered to the front yard to show a neighbor her little bouquet of wildflowers. But when minutes passed without her return, the unease began to crawl in. The family called out her name again and again, their voices growing sharper and more urgent with every unanswered shout. Panic gripped the air as they searched every corner of the yard, the street, and the nearby park. Neighbors joined in, scouring bushes, sheds, and ditches. By early evening, the police had been called and a formal search began. Officers walked shoulder to shoulder through fields. Volunteers scoured the nearby woods, and even the creek was searched for signs of the girl. The first night was filled with flashlights slicing through the darkness, shouts echoing through the trees, and the sickening sound of silence in response. By the next morning, hope was already starting to thin. Day 2 brought more search teams, drones buzzing in the air, and the hum of helicopters overhead. Every lead seemed to fizzle out. Whispers of she might not be alive began to spread, though no one dared say it too loud in front of her parents. As the second day turned into a second night, the air was heavy with dread. The command center debated scaling down the search. In the morning, that's when Officer Mark Reynolds made a call that would change everything. He was bringing in his partner, Ranger, a 4-year-old German Shepherd with a flawless record and a heart that never quit. When Ranger arrived at the makeshift command post, the scene was tense. Volunteers stood with slumped shoulders. Exhausted officers reviewed maps under floodlights. And Emily's parents sat in the corner, clutching each other's hands, their eyes swollen from crying. But the moment Ranger stepped out of the back of the patrol SUV, it was as if a different kind of energy filled the air. His ears stood tall, his head turned sharply as he took in his surroundings. And there was a steady, unshakable purpose in his stance. Mark knelt down beside him, producing a small pink sweater Melise found earlier in the yard. He held it out, and Ranger lowered his nose to take a deep breath, inhaling the scent as if committing it to memory. Within seconds, his posture shifted, his muscles tightened, and he began to pull forward, eager to begin the search. Mark clipped on his lead, gave the command, and the dogs surged into motion. The team followed closely as Ranger led them through the back fence of the property, overgrown grass brushing against their legs, and into the woods beyond. His path wasn't random. Every turn, every pause, every quick check of the air was deliberate. The team crossed a shallow creek, ducked under low branches, and trudged through mud. But Ranger never slowed. At one point, the trail seemed to fade, and some of the team worried the scent was lost. Ranger paused, sniffed the wind, and then, with a sharp bark, veered left, pulling them deeper into the forest. Hours passed, and fatigue set in among the humans, but the K9 pressed forward, undeterred. As night crept in, and the sky turned deep blue, the steady rhythm of Ranger's pace was the only thing holding their hope together for the first time. Since Emily vanished, no one dared to think about quitting. It was just before dusk when Ranger suddenly quickened his pace. His ears perked, his breathing grew louder, and his tail became rigid. A sign Mark knew well. It's on to something. Mark called out, quickening his stride to keep up. Ranger plunged through a dense wall of brush, barking in short, urgent bursts. The team scrambled after him, pushing past branches that clawed at their clothes until they broke into a small clearing. And there she was, Emily sitting at the base of a tree, her tiny knees drawn up to her chest, her head resting on her arms. Her clothes were torn, her hair tangled, and her face smeared with dirt. But she was alive. When she looked up, her eyes wide with shock, they immediately softened at the sight of the big shepherd running toward her. "Doggy," she whispered, her voice hoarse from 2 days without speaking to anyone. Ranger reached her first, licking her cheek gently before lying down beside her as if to shield her from the world. Mark knelt, wrapping a blanket around her trembling body, feeling her heart beat against his chest. Emily clung to him as he assured her she was safe now. The team called for the medics, voices cracking with relief. Tears streamed down more than one face in that moment. It was the kind of joy so overwhelming that words couldn't touch it. Ranger stayed glued to her side until she was carried out, his eyes watching her every move, refusing to leave her. Again, the walk back through the forest was like a procession of victory and disbelief. Word of Emily's rescue had already spread over the radios. And when the team emerged from the trees into the open field, dozens of people were waiting. Some clapped, others cried openly, and a few knelt on the ground in prayer. Emily's parents spotted her immediately and broke into a sprint, collapsing into her with sobs that shook their entire bodies. Thank you," her mother cried, holding Emily so tightly it was as if she feared letting go would make her vanish again. Ranger stood nearby, his tail swaying gently, his amber eyes observing the reunion with quiet pride. Mark knelt beside him, patting his neck. "You did it, buddy. You brought her home," he murmured. Later that night, when the chaos had settled, and Emily was safe in her bed, Mark sat on the station steps with Ranger beside him, looking up at the stars. He thought about how close they'd come to losing hope, and how one dog's unwavering drive had changed the ending. The world might see Ranger as just a working dog, but Mark knew the truth. He was a guardian, a friend, and a hero. This wasn't just a rescue. It was proof that when human hope runs dry, a loyal canine can carry it the rest of the way. If you believe in honoring heroes like Ranger and want to hear more incredible true stories, hit that like button and subscribe to Canine Araby, 'cause some heroes have fur, paws, and hearts bigger than we can ever imagine.